Okay, it's 6 o'clock. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Okay, have all the directors had a chance to see the agenda?
Yes. I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and we have an agenda. And Superintendent's report, Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Board President Wiehlander, other board directors, student representatives, family members, community members, staff, and students. I'll start off on May 1st. We had an event at all 3 elementary schools to have an opportunity to listen and read alongside our first graders. So all at Mountain View here, Evergreen, and at Bordeaux. The teachers invited some staff and community members to come in. Students had written letters to community members. An amazing event. They get to share some of their favorite books. As you know, again, there are 500 to 600 books inside every single first grade classroom, and that these students have access to books at their reading level and at their interest or genre that they are studying. So they were super jazzed having us come in. I know the students that I was able to work with were excited to be able to read with me. I was able to read to them. We shared a book. Exciting. I actually had a student right out here as I was coming in, different grade level, but still is about the point of half the battle about reading is having kids excited about reading for them. So the love of learning starts with it. And I just want to thank the first grade teachers here in the district. They put on a wonderful show, getting those students ready, and also the community members who showed up who were really impressed. In fact, I think the best comment I heard a number of times was, I was not able to read or write nearly that well in first grade as these students are. And that has been our top priority in our 5-year strategic plan is high quality literacy instruction. Our staff are doing it, and our students most certainly are demonstrating it. So thank you so much for that event. Speaking of events, last week, myself, along with a handful of representatives from the Shelton School District, along with representatives from the Olympia School District, Southside, and Griffin School Districts, were at Squaxin Island Tribal Nation to learn alongside about some of the tribal history, as well as some ways of continuous improvement for our relations with not just Squaxin Island, but other tribal nations, and about serving our Native youth. It was great. We came away with a number of work streams for us to betterment for next year, including our identification process, outreach, community, and also some things that we've been doing back in our literacy units is specifically thinking of some experiences about empowering the spoken word within that opportunity for our students across grade levels and abilities to learn more about the tribal history right in our community. So excited about that. I want to thank our partners, our business leaders. This year, did you know already this year where we started, we had very few field experiences. This year, we now have over 80 separate field experiences in businesses across this community, South Puget Sound. We do have to extend a little bit beyond Mason County just because of some of the unique skill sets that we are developing for our high schoolers. And so it's anywhere from like a shadow experience to all the way to like a heavy, intensive 20-hour plus internship for our students, again, for all 3 high schools. It's really cool. We're gonna have a demonstration here coming up right after me. These skills, they can go on to do experiences out there in the industry, and some go on to trade school, some go on to college, and some go right into being entrepreneurs, starting their own business. I know a couple of those stories here in this community, so it's really exciting, especially this time of year. But I just want to thank our business partners for coming alongside us. We are kind of maxed out about managing that many internships, but I always looking to improve as always. My last comment happens to be a little bit more towards the reality of public schools for districts here in Washington, including the Shelton School District. The state legislation has now closed up on our session, and I believe the governor is going to sign off on the budget on May 19th or 20th. It does really hurt when you look at the Shelton School District has had expend $4 million extra in operating expenses over the last 3 years. $4 million extra over the last 3 years. We are no different than many of your household budgets. Those utilities are real, and they are costing us. And the unfortunate part, those operating expenses, no one quite sees. But you do hear about some of the staffing cuts that we've had to make. It does compromise our ability to provide what I would determine and what I think many of you would determine is basic ed. And it is expensive. It is expensive to educate our youth, but they are our future, and we need to continue to invest in them. And I just implore you to pay attention to what it is and how we get funded. I also heard from our superintendent of public instruction today. He let me know that next year we can count on some of the federal dollars, but after that we might not be able to. And that includes things like food services, mental health, and Native education, and also education for those who live at or below the poverty level. That's a lot of our community, and that will have impacts. Not ones that most certainly we here in the Shelton School District want. We will do our best. We will continue to provide the best high quality education. Today you'll get many examples of what we do offer. It is quite amazing with our amazing staff and of course our beautiful children. So I just wanted to call that out. More to come. I will always keep you updated. If you have any questions about how financing happens within public schools or just the financing here or what we call basic ed, happy to answer questions. You can directly email me and I will most certainly get back to you, or somebody on our team can get back to you who's an expert in that particular area. So just with that, I'm really excited today to have some presentations, most certainly from our culinary expert over here. And so thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up, we have a presentation from Shelton High School, and based on the candy and knives in front of us here, I'm looking forward to this.
Well, hi there. I wanted to thank you all for having us, first of all, and we are honored to be here. I wanted to introduce myself. I am Hunter. This is Nigel, Amaya, Miss Tony, Elise, Logan, and Amiko. We will all be demonstrating you today some of the things about culinary. So before we get into it, I want to start off with the pathway progression. Culinary is part of the business, finance, and hospitality pathway. And so early on in your sophomore year or so, you'll take a level 1 culinary class, which is the basics. It teaches you about culinary and essentially, you know, all like knife skills, learning how to be safe in the kitchen, sanitization, those kinds of things. As well as getting those basic experiences when it comes to cooking simple dishes. You will then step into a level 2 culinary class, usually your junior year, which is anything from events and catering, pastry and baking, or international cuisine, which teaches you more advanced skills and techniques that are used to make more complex dishes. And finally, the third level of culinary, mostly done by seniors, is advanced, which those are the students who make dishes for the student store, and they even have to come up with their own dishes to implement into the student store that follow strict health guidelines, and so it's pretty impressive what they do. And those students are also have taken a hold of this last year a couple internship opportunities. So without further ado, I am letting this be taken over by Elise, who will show you how to make a caramel rose. about some of the events we have in the culinary program.
Hi, I'm Logan. You all can hear me, right? All right. I'm a part of the culinary program, much like my peers here, and I am also a part of the Shelton High School Student Store. In this, I would like to give a huge thanks for allowing us to be able to speak here and be able to make our presentation known here and be able to support our program as a whole. I am very thankful for that, as I am sure everyone else is here too. I would like to begin talking about all of the events in which we support in Shelton High School. We often support many large and smaller events in Shelton, such as the CTE dinners, Navy Ball, NGROTC Boot Camp, and our smaller events, such as the Bite of Reality, the Veterans Luncheon, the Cinco de Mayo Luncheon, and as a whole, we support over 30 events in High Climber Culinary within the entirety of this year. I would also like to add the many things I have learned while being in this program. One of the main things that this has taught me is discipline and patience with myself. Me as a person, I am very impatient and probably not very disciplined. But in culinary, I have learned that I need to have some discipline in order to know what I am doing, and I need to be patient with myself when I am working with my peers and to know what I am doing. To make sure that I am doing everything correct and up to order, and that I am following all guidelines. That it goes to my peers as well, is that I also have to be patient with them, as I have learned with working with several people over the last year and a half. Throughout this, I have learned that teamwork is a key essential to when it comes to cooking and making things, and that teamwork is something that should be cherished among people and your peers. It is not something that should be put to waste, and something that should definitely be acknowledged within this. And that is another thing that this also teaches us as culinary students, is to work together with other people, especially if you don't know them. This is maybe not so much as learned other people, but it has allowed me to learn how to work with people that I do not know or that I am unfamiliar with. Okay. I would like to, again, thank you for having us and allowing us to make this presentation to you. It is an honor. I'm going to pass the mic over to Hunter. Thank you.
All right, if Elise is done with her caramel roses, she's gonna come over and speak on the student store aspect of culinary, as is a big part of this program. Thank you so much. This is Elise.
Hello, everybody. I am Elise. I am the student store manager for the High Climber store, and I am also a part of the culinary people. We connect with all sorts of groups and all parts of the school, like DECA, FFA, culinary, advanced culinary kids, business, and marketing. Our advanced kids in the culinary room make the products for our store to sell following the National School Lunch Guidelines. In the student store, we make chocolate chip cookies, brownies, crunch wraps, and those all follow those guidelines. They will be passing out cookies for trying them. These are top sellers in our store. What else? And some skills that are presented in the store are customer service, register, barista, and learning how to work in inventory. These are all skills that can be used in the future outside of high school. Thank you.
With that, we will be wrapping it up. Thank you guys so much for having us. It was really an awesome experience. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation and also the cookies that we are handing out now. They are made, like Elise said, with a pretty strict regimen of ingredients, and so it's really impressive how well they taste for the restrictions we have to work under. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Outstanding work. They actually got me to make a flower that looks like a flower up here. So not only can they do it, they can teach it. That's pretty good stuff. And they brought cookies. Definitely raising the bar for other presentations.
And great speaking.
Yeah, good job.
I could not be in a reality TV show.
Right? Okay. Okay, while we get kind of cleaned up here, if Clinton could come on up, we're going to talk about the public hearing on the sale of real property.
It's hard to follow up cookies.
Just let us finish cleaning
Yeah,
up.
go
I'm
ahead.
a mess.
Go ahead. So cool. All these cookies. Also, save me a cookie out there. Solid. So good.
Thanks, guys. That was really cool. Go ahead.
That was super fun to watch, actually. Sorry, I just hear the crackling of cookies and bags. It's super awesome. We're hosting a public hearing to talk about the sale of real property. I wanted to walk through what that process looks like because it's not very common that it occurs. There's an RCW that outlines what this process looks like. So just kind of quickly, we have to have public notice in the paper. That was posted in the Mason County Journal already. We have a public hearing to allow public comment on the sale of the property. And then we'll have appraisals being done right now to find the market value of the house, and the RCW outlines what that looks like. That's the process really quickly. This is the home that we own at 102 East University Avenue. It's the school it's the home next to Bordeaux Elementary. Just a little sliver of land on the side over there. We've had that since 2018. Yeah. I grabbed some quick photos off Google Earth to show kind of what it looks like to the public, since this is a space for them to ask questions if they have any. And this is really part of a larger plan. As Superintendent Jesse said earlier, the legislature didn't come through with any dollars, so it's up to us to generate other revenues and find other savings. And this is one of those mechanisms that we have. This has been deemed not necessary for the educational programs of the district. And so we are proposing that we put it up for sale, and a public hearing is part of that process. I know that was pretty quick. What questions do you have for me?
I don't have any questions at all.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward process, but it's not super common. And then,
Yep.
great.
Yeah, now we're going to have a public comment period. This is separate from our other regular public comment. This is any public comment on this would be restricted to just the sale of this house. So does anybody have a public comment on this item? Okay,
Okay,
I
great.
believe we've done everything we need to do in statute. Oh, we do have.
Oh, you guys can hear me? Oh, that's way louder. I can hear
Yeah, that's
myself
way
now.
better.
Okay, great.
If you want to
Do it again?
just run through it
Sure.
again.
Well, I'd love to. This is my favorite part. All right, so we're having a public hearing to talk about the sale of real property that the district owns. We bought it in 2018. The process for that is outlined by an RCW. This is going to go way better the second time, right? The process is outlined by an RCW. It really lays out exactly the steps necessary to sell property that districts own. Part of that is a public notice in the paper, and so that's already occurred. Part of that, the next part is a public hearing, which is right now, to get any questions the public may have around it, the sale of the property. And then it's also required to have an appraisal done to make sure we're getting fair market value when we sell the house. Here are a couple of images of where the house is. It's 102 East University Avenue. It's the home next to Bordeaux. That's the legal description, and it's 1,695 square feet. It's got 3 bedrooms and 1 bath on almost a half-acre lot. Here are some photos I grabbed from Google Earth because I thought they looked better of the property, just in case the public had any specific questions around it. And if they do, what questions do they have? Happy to answer them. That was better.
And again, do any board members have any
Yeah,
questions? Okay, now, public comment, and the public comment is related to just this item. We'll have a regular public comment again later.
My question be is what was the house used for, and are they going to try and fix it up so we can actually get some money out of it? Because we have a lot of community members and stuff that would probably try and fix it up for us, probably donate their labor so that we could actually get some good money out of it. Because it looks like it was like boarded up and stuff, like it looked like it was in rough shape. That would be my question.
The home is currently used for storage. I think it has been used for storage since 2018. Part of the appraisal process does have that, what that looks like with improvements. And it really just depends on what the market looks like. We spoke with some real estate agents, and now seemed like a good time to sell it. We have a need for that capital to be used differently than at that home at Bordeaux. That's never really been leveraged within the district. That's a great question. Any other public comment?
A couple questions. One, how much did we pay for the home in 2018?
Great question. Another great question. 185,000.
And then, will any of the funds be used to address current student needs, such as classroom resources, staffing, and program support? And then, you got an answer for that already?
I do. That's a great question. Do you
Okay, no, go ahead.
Sure. That's a great question. So the sale of real property is required to go into the Capital Projects Fund, which is a separate fund than the operations of the district. So teachers, staff, pencils, pens, all those things are purchased out of what's called the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the district. Districts have 5 funds. We've talked about that a handful of times. The sale of real property and surplus goods goes into Capital Projects Fund.
So then that money could be used to fix the elevator at OBJH that's been out of service for over a year?
Those are the exact type of expenditures, yes. Okay. The trickier thing is what is beyond regular maintenance. Regular maintenance is handled in the general fund. Capital expenditures that are large enough would come out of the capital projects fund. So I haven't seen the quote for that, but we would just evaluate a bunch of different things and take a look at them.
My understanding from a report that was given last year is that it needs significant repairs. I think Robert would be better to speak on that. But I don't know, this might be kind of out of the realm of this scope, but with asking that question about repairs on the elevator, then what if we have students that actually need that elevator for services? Because the library is on the second floor at OBJH, correct?
Yeah, sorry. So that is outside of the scope of the public hearing because it's really only around the sale of the property.
Okay. And then my other question is, how will the board ensure public accountability and transparency in how the proceeds are spent?
Love it. So I'm the finance guy, and one of the things that we get.
You're not the board, though.
Oh, sorry. Well, sure.
I mean, you can answer it, but I'd like to hear
Sure. I mean, what happens by default, and one of the things that I like about the finance department, there are account code structures that track everything. So the revenue from this sale would go into a specific account code, and then we would identify which expenditure to happen, and they'd be coded that account code. So we can run a report, a detailed report lining out all of the different expenses that it went to help make improvements around the schools.
And you'll have that somewhere where the public can access it at the drop of a, hey, I'd like to access that report?
Sure, super fast.
Okay, I think that's it.
Clinton, you might want to also mention, that's part of the annual report that a board director does attend. And they
Yes.
do get a copy of that report. The entire board gets a copy from SAO.
That's
So
correct.
the state auditor's office audits the school district every year, and those kind of capital items are part of that audit.
Yes.
And that report does go to the board.
Yep. Any other questions, I think is next.
If there's no other questions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move on to item number 6, community comment. As part of the regular school board meeting, the board welcomes community members to make public comments in person and/or by phone as conditions allow. Please follow the full script with call-in instructions and guidelines for community comments displayed on the screen above. First up will be Beth Chapin.
Hi, I'm Beth Chapin. I'm a staff member. I teach 6th grade at Olympic Middle School. And I just wanted to take a second. I've taught in Shelton now for 10 years. It's my 10th year of teaching. And I picked Shelton. So I grew up in a really small town, Kelso, way down yonder. And then I moved to Chehalis, another really small rural town. And then I found myself in Olympia, and I was really overwhelmed. And I didn't quite know where I fit there. And then I student taught at Evergreen Elementary School in 2014 and 2015 with Isis Albert, who doesn't work there anymore, but she was phenomenal. She was everything I ever wanted to be. And so I picked Shelton. I interviewed at all 3 elementary schools with my brand new K-8 certificate at 22. And Bordeaux picked me. And I felt like I still feel when I think about teaching in Shelton, I am so proud to work in this community. I have been proud every year, through every superintendent, through every school board, through every principal, and there have been many, many principals, I have felt so proud of our community, of the people that live here. I have felt, one of my past students was just presenting with the culinary group, and I was so elated, and I continue to feel that elation even today, even in the face of what could be one of the hardest years, money and staff and RIFs and non-renews and mid-year para loss and I'm still so proud to teach in Shelton. I was not gonna cry. I decided last minute I was gonna talk. I am so proud to teach here. And I am so proud of our community, and I am so proud of the work that we're doing with literacy. And it's hard. It is hard work to teach English in this town right now. And it's work I don't think I have ever been prouder of. And I think that the community needs to hear from people who are doing the work that it is tough work, but it is heart work. And I am personally so blessed and so phenomenally impressed by the human beings that I get to work with. I tell people now that I work at Olympic Middle School, and it's like teaching in Disneyland. Every day is like a brand new experience, and every day I get to just go to work and love all of it. And so I wanted to thank you, school board, for supporting the work that we're doing and continuing to work on transparency and communication and all of those things. But I also think that you need to know that there are many of us who are really proud of the work that we're doing, and we're really, really happy. It's still so hard. I cannot explain that enough. But it is also work that I cannot imagine doing in any other town at any other time. So thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn Aaron.
So I stand here today as a parent, a lifelong Shelton community member, and concerned for the staff of the district and the state of the district. So you may not know this because you only see it based on each school board, but if you went back and counted in the reports, this year alone, our district has had 66 resignations. Let that sink in. 66 people have chosen to leave our district, one of them being a principal. Then add 19 retirements, 4 from the district office alone, 13 layoffs, and 2 terminations. That's 100 staff members gone. This isn't a normal turnover, it's a red flag, a sign that something deeper is broken. We often talk about student resources, curriculum, facilities, and test scores, but none of those are possible without people who feel respected, supported, and valued. Right now, the message being sent is kind of loud and clear to a lot of them and a lot of the community that Shelton School District is no longer a healthy place to work. This is a culture problem, and culture starts at the top. Your culture isn't what you say it is or what you preach about at a school board meeting in the face of the public that it is. It's what your people feel it is. And culture can't be bought, it has to be built. When leadership fails to listen, communicate, or lead with trust and respect, people leave. And they are leaving. Toxic culture develops when leadership consistently ignores feedback, lacks transparency, and leads through fear and control rather than collaboration. Over time, this erodes trust, lowers morale, and drives good people away. If we don't face this truth honestly, we'll keep losing the very people who keep our schools standing. A healthy culture begins with leadership that listens, that invites collaboration, and builds trust, not fear of retaliation. Here's the hard truth. People don't leave jobs, they leave leadership. So we have to ask, what are we doing to keep the good people we have? How are we supporting those still here? Wyeth, I know you're counting down my time, but I got a few more seconds. The heart of our district isn't in boardrooms or documents or even the district office. It's in classrooms, cafeterias, and hallways, in the dedication of staff who keep showing up even when it's hard. But even the most passionate people burn out, especially when they're not seen or heard and not supported. We are at a turning point. We need accountability, we need change, not next year, not after another survey that's never reported, now. And the most important question is, what are we, mainly what are you, gonna do about it? Thank you.
William Sullivan.
Hi, my name is William Sullivan. I didn't know that she was actually going to lead with that. 100 staff members, pretty disturbing, because I actually have been talking with teachers, and they have told me much of the same thing, that they are afraid to speak up or they'll lose their job. That's pretty bad. What I actually came up here to talk about, though, is there's a kid at Evergreen Elementary who has a medical condition, who has to take medicine, that they have to stay hydrated, and Evergreen Elementary is not letting the kid keep their water bottle because they fidget too much with the water bottle. And it's a medical emergency. It's just kind of the same thing my kid was dealing with, where they weren't having their medical needs met. And so kids on a medication where they have to stay hydrated. If they don't stay hydrated, the medication takes water from their organs instead of their body. So something that needs to be addressed by the school board, because Evergreen Elementary is saying that the kid can't have their water bottle when it's a medical need. But anyways, after talking to the teachers, I will be opening up a website so that the teachers can tell us how they really feel, and I will be reading their comments out loud at the school board meetings from now on. Both parents that are afraid to come up here and speak. It's not easy to come up here and speak every week. And for the staff that's afraid to be fired So next month, the website will be opening up and you guys will be hearing directly from the teachers every school board meeting. So I suggest that you reach out to the teachers and whatever you have to do to make them not feel threatened, that's what you need to do. Thanks.
Lori Chappell.
Like Chapin said, this is my heart work right here. Hey Hape, Washte, good evening. Imache P. Lori Chapel, native ed for Olympic Middle School. I'm the great-great-granddaughter of Mary Feather Garreau and descendant of the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, Lakota, band of the Minkanju. Tonight, you will hear students speak on their desire to raise the Squaxin flag at Olympic Middle School. You will also hear from a youth who is a Suquamish descendant so that they can also be reminded that we sit between two tribes. With that being said, I'm asking tonight that you listen with an open heart. These students are taking a healthy risk by speaking in front of you today. They are proud of who they are and their culture. It is our job to support them and their voices. It is my understanding that the flying of a flag at a school is a leadership-to-leadership type of process. Example, the leadership of the Olympic School District asked the leadership of the Squaxin tribe, and now Squaxin flags will be flying at their schools. I would also assume that the same type of process happened at North Thurston, where the North Thurston School District proudly flies the Nisqually flag. In this process, these students behind me became the leaders, going first to speak to the Squaxin Tribal Council themselves, who raised their hands to their youth and presented them with a flag. And now today, they are here to ask the same of you, the Shelton School Board. The flying of the flag has been an ongoing conversation for several years within my program. The time apparently was never right until now. These young people who are unapologetic Indigenous took the risk to ask for something that was in their spirit, and now is the right time. I would like to read a short excerpt from an article from a Native youth on recognizing culture. As a young Native American student, seeing my culture reflected at school means the world to me. It is like a piece of my identity is being recognized and respected. When I see traditional regalia in our events, hear stories about our ancestors, or learn about our history in class, I feel proud and connected to my roots. It reminds me that our traditions are important and that our voices matter. It also helps my classmates understand and appreciate who we are. Knowing that my culture is valued at school makes me feel confident, proud, and inspired to keep our traditions alive. It's a small step towards sharing our story and honoring our ancestry's legacy. Remember, without Indigenous history, there is no U.S. history. A couple of my students were not able to come today, and they'd like me to read their comments. Hashla Hale, I'm Leslie Allen Cooper Jr. Tista. I am the son of Allen Cooper Sr. and Brittany Johnson, the grandson of Arnold Cooper. I come from the Squaxin Island tribe. I'm here to talk about how I'd like to raise the flag at Olympic Middle School. I want to show people that we are still here and we are strong, that we have been living on our original land since time immemorial. We are from this land and we care about it. Flying the flag shows Shelton and Squaxin's mutual commitment to each other. Hanging the flag shows representation as well as people understanding the ongoing history of our people. It would make me happy seeing the flag fly proudly at OMS. Thank you. Hashla Hale, I'm Bernard. Okay.
Eden Forsman
Hold on. Are you Eden Forson?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sita. I am the granddaughter of Steve and Andrea Saigo. I am here to speak about having the Squaxin flag fly at OMS. Having the flag fly will represent us because we will need more representation of our families and tribe. I also think that the flag should fly at all schools. Thank you.
Olivia Henry.
Hello, everyone. Olivia Kenzie Henry Seedsta. My dad is Vince Henry Jr. My mom is Tiffany Goose. My Sapa is Vince Henry Sr. I come from the Henry family. I am proud to be Squaxin. I am here because I want to help show respect to our people at OMS and at all the schools. It is important to resent for Squaxin because we are the people of this land. Thank you.
Satela Thomas.
Satela Thomas Seedsta. I come from the Cooper and Thomas family, and I am the granddaughter of Russell Cooper. I am Squaxin and Puyallup, and I am here to talk with you about hanging the Squaxin flag at our school. I think it's important to hang the flag because it'll represent our tribe and our culture. I think it's also important to hang the flag because our tribe was one of the first people on this land. I also think it's important for all the future Squaxin youth to know that they are seen and welcome. Thank you for listening. I hope you consider hanging the flag.
Mila Hawks.
Hashla Hill, I'm Mala Hawks Seedsta. I'm Squaxin. I come from the Kreis family. My kaya is Beverly Hawks. I'm the daughter of Anton Hawks. I'm here today to speak about hanging the Squaxin flag at Olympic Middle School. We are the original and traditional people of this land. We have been here since time immemorial. It is the most important thing to have the flag for the future generations to see the Squaxin flag, to remind them and others we are still here. It would help non-Native kids to know and learn about the culture. It will also show that Squaxin and Shelton are working together. Most importantly, it would honor our ancestors. If we have permission to hang the flag at our school, it would be an honor because it would show respect and show that our voices are heard. Seeing the flag at school would fill my heart with joy. Thank you for listening.
Zani Dorlaynell. Sorry, I can't read it.
Hashla Hale Zane Dorlan Teetsta. I'm descendant of David Lopeman and Donna Lopeman of the Squaxin Island tribe. I'm here to speak to you about raising the flag at OMS. I believe it's important because we've been here since time immemorial and we're going to be here for a while. It would be important for Native kids to remember their culture on and off the res. It is important to remember always this land is our original home. Our people come from this land. It's important for everyone, not just Natives, to give land acknowledgement. If the school flew our flag, it would set such a good example for everyone, and it would show the Squaxin people that they are supported by the schools like they say we are. Seeing the flag at my school would fill me with pride, joy, and respect. It would be a sign of welcome and respect for us and our history. It would also honor our ancestors. I'm appealing to your heart and the duty to recognize our tribe by flying the flag. Thank you to the school board and the district for listening. Aho.
Jordan Norris.
Hello, I'm Jordan Morris. I am a Skokomish descendant. My mom is Jennifer Johnson. My grandmother is Lori Conklin. My great-grandfather is Charles Conklin from the Wilbur Strong Boys. My great-great-grandmother is Annie Frank. Today I am here to support my classmates as they ask to raise the flag, but I also want us to remember that the schools in Shelton sit between two tribes. Students from both tribes come to the Shelton schools. A lot of students are both Squaxin and Skokomish. How cool would it be for Shelton to have both flags represented? I want to share a story about my great-grandpa Chuck, who helped raised me. He was born on River Road in 1939. Maybe you know where that is, but by the Skokomish River. For this Marine, seeing a Skoke flag proudly next to the American flag would make his last wishes come true. This town used to have signs in store windows that said no Indians allowed. That was unfair. Flying a flag is a way to show that our community recognizes and respects the tribes that helped build it. It is a step towards being seen and heard. My great-grandpa also attended the welcoming ceremony this year at OMS. He was so happy to see us kids singing and dancing in our own traditional ways and listening to our elders speak. This would have never happened when he was in school. It didn't happen when my mom went to school. It made me proud to see him smile and feel proud of our culture. These two stories show the importance of it would mean to our elders and our community. What? Thank you.
And Barbara Brown? Thank you, guys. Barbara Brown. Barbara Brown. Okay. One last call for Barbara Brown. Your name's up here. Okay. Moving on to item number 7, reports and recognitions. Start with the report from the student board representatives, and we will go with Abigail Hurst first.
Our digital hall pass systems have been a success around campus for both staff and students. Our Wizard of Oz was a hit with much bigger turnout than expected. Elementary schools Evergreen and Mountain View, along with 7th grade from OBJH, got to watch. Leadership hosted a blood drive for current Shelton High School students last Thursday. That went very well. Senior Awards Night is on May 28th at 7 p.m. in the PAC. Community members are encouraged to join. Annual button robe ceremony is on the 16th this month at 6 p.m. in the sub. Senior prom is on Saturday. Tickets are now on sale in the athletics office. Last Friday was the annual Honor Society Mariners game in Seattle, and ASB elections for the 2025-2026 school year are finished. Lane Stoney will be president, Ryan Wilbur as vice president, Izzy Macias for secretary, Lalo for treasurer, and the appointed positions are Nevaeh Betch as school board representative, Danny as inner high school communications, and Sophia for social media manager. And in the process of elections, we ran into a tie with the secretary position, so now we are going into opening the Constitution, and we have a committee made out of ASB to help figure out what to do in the case of a tie. So that will be amended soon.
Wow, and then the button robe on the 16th, that's this Friday, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Alan Ramirez from Cedar.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit to say today. Firstly, I would like to truly thank the district. We had a meeting with some of your staff. I forgot your name, but I remember you were there. I'm sorry, but yeah, we had a meeting with 2 district staff to sort of answer the questions that a group of students had. Well, really was a few students that were representing our larger student body, just sort of getting that clarity of where the district is at right now and why it's doing the things that it's doing. And I would like to thank the school board for having that discussion with us. I think that the session went very well. A lot of our questions were answered. It seems that the district is very passionate about keeping Cedar open, keeping us well-funded, because they see the value in project-based learning, and they also see the value in being part of the New Tech Network. So we also figured out some next steps from that meeting. We've decided that Cedar High School will try to, so we'll start doing advocacy for school funding, not just for our school, but for schools across the state. So it was a very good meeting because it inspired us to do that. And we were told we would be meeting with Clinton Sherman. I remembered his name, yes. We were told we would be meeting with him in order to discuss sort of like how schools are financed, getting into the nitty-gritty of it, see what Cedar High School can do to support that. And we'll continue to be working with community members. Right now we're working with an organization that does promotional materials for, usually they do it for nonprofits, for causes, but for now we're doing it to really promote Cedar High School so that more of the community knows that we exist and what it is exactly that we do. Cedar remains strong in its mission to implement project-based learning, implementing our protocols that we have from the New Tech Network. And I'd like to say that this really is just the beginning of Cedar High School. Next year, due to our new location, we will be doing a lot more actual projects out in the community, so that'll be exciting. We will also like to invite everybody here, tell your friends, your family, anyone that you know. Our ECP, Experience Cedar project, is gonna be next Tuesday. I forget the exact time, but I think if you show up around 4, you should be able to catch some good stuff. We're gonna have a live Socratic seminar there, so you can really see sort of like the projects that we do in school. You get to see one live in action. The trail, I've been working with some of my coworkers to really pretty it up so that people can enjoy that. We have Double Trouble on May 22nd. Not only is that going to be our Cedar School dance, it will also be the day that the Envirothon team leaves for the state competition, which will be over by Samish Island. So, you know, a very fun competition for our students. I am a part of Envirothon, so unfortunately I will miss the dance, but I get to represent the Shelton School District over at Samish Island in the state competition. And along with that, ASB has also been organizing a fundraiser where we will be volunteering at a marathon, so that'll be very nice. We also have, oh yeah, and Susie, our counselor, was able to organize a field trip over to Evergreen. I'm pretty sure Choice and maybe SHS. I definitely know that all of the juniors from Cedar will be going to that. So for like the Shelton Promise students that want to get a tour of Evergreen, students who want to just kind of want to know what the experience of visiting a college is like. So that'll be very fun. So yeah, I'd just like to reiterate that Cedar High School is only succeeding because of the fact that we get support from the district, and we really appreciate the support that we've gotten from the district over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Kaylee Allen from Choice.
In the Choice Day program, students are writing essays and finishing up projects in English and science. We're expecting 30 seniors to graduate from the day program, with 5 of them coming from the iLearn program. We also have 3 students moving to the Pathways program next year to strengthen their transition to the adult world. Students with interest in student government are gearing up for our ASB elections so that next year we can start building our community with strong student voice and leadership. Do we still need the EPA? Choice Middle School has been exploring what led to the creation of the EPA. The students have explored the causes and effects of Silent Spring, the Denora Smog, Love Canal, and Shelton's toxic waste disposal site, Goose Lake, and Seat landfill. This allowed students to explore primary and secondary sources as well as determining credibility of sources. Currently, they are exploring the waterways of Mason County. In the next few weeks, students will be building a model creek in the classroom and exploring the ways the pollution enters the waterways and discussing ways to reduce the pollution. The Open Doors program is gearing up for their move to welcome the Cedar High School team. We have several students that have gained well over a year of credit and are pushing themselves out of their comfort zones to reach their goals by the end of the school year. We currently have 6 students that have finished all of their credits and grad requirements. We are optimistic that more will join them by the deadline for graduation.
Thank you. Item 7.02, presentation on special education.
Oh, I think you can hear me now. Thank you so much for letting me come and talk a very quick general overview of a special education. I want to save a little room for some celebrations at the end. I just want to kind of point out before we get into special services that all of our students, of course, are general education students first. And so all of the amazing work that's been presented throughout this year and years past is really what's benefiting our students the most. And access to all of these amazing programs is really what we're gearing up and aiming to do within special services. So let's get into a little nitty-gritty, some data that everybody probably wants to know. Who do we serve in special education? You can kind of see on this basic pie chart that most of our students have a specific learning disability. The interesting fact about learning disabilities is that's average or above average IQ. So most of our students do have really high cognitive functioning, but there's barriers to accessing their education. We have otherwise health impairments. Some of those students, as many of your maybe coworkers, family members, colleagues that have ADHD, have even super brains, probably above average IQ levels. But again, there's barriers to them accessing that education. We have a lot of students that are considered developmentally delayed, and that's a diagnosis that we try to really catch students young and provide intervention early so that there's less impact on their future careers and they can spend more time in special education. Our Early Learning Center has certainly grown a lot over the last couple of years. And then, of course, like many places, we have some increased rates of autism, still within the state average, and great partnerships with Mason Health to, again, identify those students early and get them services before school. And then we have some less common communication disorders, behavior disorders, multiple disabilities within special education. So who provides all of these services? You can definitely see the far majority of our department is staffing. Lots of teachers, paraeducators. We have a couple of nurse practitioners that are allowing access for students with pretty complex medical needs. Speech and language pathologists, we're looking for a few more if you know anybody, as well as occupational therapists. We're starting to look at occupational therapy assistants and potentially adding an assistant to our speech and language pathologist. Great fields for students that are looking for an awesome 2-year degree. We have a physical therapist, a team of school psychologists, a board-certified behavior analyst that's been working hard with our more behavior-specific programs, and then one teacher on special assignment who helps both facilitate our Early Learning Center and some of our more complex learners. We have some incidental services such as teacher of the visually impaired, deaf and hard of hearing, an audiologist that's on contract from places like Washington State School for the Blind, or the Washington State School for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. How is it funded? I know this is pretty heavy on everyone's mind when we look at general funding, and as you noticed, it is mostly staff and staff that we fund in special education. The good news is there is a lot of state funding. Well, we'll see if that's good news. I know that we still have to sign our budget for next year. But there is a large portion of state funding that we use for our total budget. And then there's some smaller portions of federal funding, and of course that deficit that we do have to borrow from basic ed and or use for our levy dollars. There's a small piece of that pie called safety net grant funding. So that is state funded. It's not guaranteed, but if we do spend a certain amount of money and do an excellent application, which Shelton has done historically for many years, we will get that safety net grant funding, and that percentage is growing. It should be about 5% this year. We won't know until August, of course. You can kind of see there's a general average per pupil cost of $15,000, which unfortunately is not what the state allocates per pupil for special education. And our current enrollment has been pretty steady my 3 years here, so we usually have around 750 students in our whole department, including the Early Learning Center. So how are all of these services provided? What do all of those staff members on that page do? We really look at integrating our services. So part of this is just copy and pasted right out of the law, but to the maximum extent possible, we're really looking at educating all children together, both with disabilities and without. Our integrated service model that we're continuing to really cultivate year after year provides the continuum of that least restrictive environment. And really the intent is for services to follow the students more and more, to go with the students, and not having students pulled or having to follow the services. There's some awesome information that came out of the Every Minute Counts report that just came out of the federal government around really getting services to students and using every instructional minute that we have. We've kind of cultivated 3 programs and started to really define those over the last couple years. We have your more traditional resource services, so those are either academics or social emotional supports, and little sprinkles of that throughout all of the students' educational settings. That's the majority of our teachers by far. But we have 2 more specialized programs. One of those is that adaptive or functional life skills program. I see several teachers here tonight that are part of that program model. And we're looking a lot at independence, skills to build independence, and the functional part of our standards, but still really increasing that rigor to achieve the same standards. How can those standards functionally be used in a real life setting? And then we have our specialized social emotional behavior support services. So that's really focusing on those behavior intervention plans and looking at replacement behaviors that are serving the same function as less desirable or unexpected behaviors. And we have really done some awesome training with both of those teams to get those services cultivated and tuned in. Most importantly is our connection with community as students start to enter either our program when they graduate or move on to that transitions program, whether it's at Shelton High School or down at the Pathways campus. I heard on the choice report that we had 3 students moving into the transitions program. And I think a few young adults were gonna try to join me tonight, so if anyone was able to make it, this is a great time to come and join me up here, or you can stay in the audience, totally flexible there. Some examples of what those community outings look like towards the end of high school and certainly into up to really your 22nd birthday might be going to pay more recycling and learning how to clip wires and crush cans. Shelton YMCA is beyond an amazing partner, teaching fitness and recreation, swimming, weight rooms. What do you do in all your downtime when you're a young adult? Panhandle Lake has let us disassemble scraps, clean up the landscape, and then Hope Garden comes to our campus and not only allows us how to, teaches us how to garden the earth and treat the land, but then growing, cooking, and harvesting all of that food, kind of in these inclusive lessons that include a lot of social skills. It's pretty beautiful. Sierra Pacific Industries is constantly offering us tours and teaching students about the safety equipment and gear. Habitat for Humanity, again, we've stretched a little bit into the South Sound because we're doing a lot of cleaning and organizing and just being around typical customer clientele. Down at that Pathways Transitions program, there have been some amazing local vocational partnerships that we're continuing to grow. And those partnerships, you'll see if you want to grab a flyer, I'll leave those out on the table, are typically once, twice, sometimes 3 times a week where students are going and working at Nifty Thrifty, Shelton Athletic Club, the Mason County has several positions, Mountain View Alliance, the Animal Shelter, Walking Dogs is a new, very exciting position. We have students working at the Early Learning Center as well as Evergreen Elementary. We're doing recycling, sorting for the food banks. Washington State Parks has been a new amazing partner. I'll share a little story at the end about that, and even Shelton Auto Parts. So pretty diverse group of potential employers. The community outings, Ms. Stoutner, who teaches our Pathways program, continues to add tours and field trips and community opportunities. Yes, for education and future careers, but also just for recreation and social skills. So you can see on this very robust list that students are traveling at least every other week, actually weekly. Every Friday, I believe they're going on at least one community outing together as a group. So, a few more celebrations before I kind of share a student story at the end. You got to see everyone's test scores, and we pulled this out of students specifically with disabilities. We're almost at 55% of passing our state standard in ELA. Pretty incredible for our students. Again, most of them have average or above average intelligence, and our Shelton schools are allowing them to shine. Some other celebrations that are only measured in pictures, not words, is examples of that literacy. What does literacy look like from a very diverse lens? What does communication look like? How do they teach us learning? I'm not sure if this will let me play that middle video or not. And then what do we do to meet students' both physical as well as sensory needs? How do we take those atypical brain pathways and make them useful and functional in school? The student who's giving a high five to Miss Dale there in shaving cream worked really, really, really hard for that opportunity. That was a huge reward, I think, for both of them, actually. We'll see if this plays the video or not.
Oops, sorry. All right, what do we have? 8 red apples. Very good.
So that's a student who may or may not have a verbal voice, but certainly has a very complex voice in a system called Proloquo on his iPad. We have over 120 iPads and students using augmentative communication throughout all of our ages and age spans. Where some people may see a student who feels overstimulated and has an urge to rip up paper, you can imagine what that might look like in, say, a junior high setting. Other individuals see a potential winning Halloween door contest and use that paper. Those are all teeny tiny pieces of paper on the pumpkin if you can't see it. Use that paper skill to their advantage, and the whole team rallied and definitely, I think, knocked it out of the park for that door contest that year. We have really looked at incentives, rewards, how to help students feel motivated and learn, and how to help students set their own goals. So get my smarts, try not to miss work, and try not to be loud is that individual student's goal that's posted in the room that they check on. Examples of a lot of our stores and rewards that we're building into our behavior incentive programs. And then again, just forms of not only basic communication skills, but embedding reading, writing, and math into kind of all of those activities. One more little video here, because they're so darn cute.
Alexis, but he's not gonna like it. He's choking on it.
That's true. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Stop. Ayuda.
Yes. Before, when the Play-Doh got set up, when I did saw this inside, I was so confused. I thought it was candy.
They do look like candy.
But just
A little noise in that background because we had a student from Pathways as a future preschool employee learning how to work with that student who was counting the bunnies and processing out loud with the speech therapist if that was or wasn't a choking hazard. So that was kind of the side conversation, and then the multi-layers of instruction that we were able to give just in that little snapshot moment. I want to take just a quick brief moment before I wrap up to introduce you to my friend Gavin, and I did talk to his mother and let her know I would be sharing his story a little bit. Gavin's 21 years old. He's going to turn 22 in July. We've learned that Gavin's loves the outdoors. I should have all capital and bold loves. Gavin was diagnosed with autism at a very young age and used to get extremely overwhelmed in crowds and has very limited, really not a lot of verbal speech. So we have redesigned, brought the team together. His mother's been a huge part of that team, as well as several creative thinkers around our district. created that program with the state parks. And at this point, Gavin has used both his energy and his large stature to clear several acres of Scotch broom from our local parks. Not an easy feat. If you were out at Lake Isabella hiking at all last year, you might have met Gavin and his team. He now works with a team of individuals at Hope Garden down at the Pathways program. And he was able to walk in a graduation ceremony and graduate with the entire Choice community. He's starting to attend local dances and really feel like he's going to have a lot of possibility and potential as he enters his adulthood. I'm really proud of this team and how they helped me think outside of the box so that a student like Gavin could teach me everything he was capable of. All right, thank you so much. Oh, I got some next steps. So, a lot of amazing things to celebrate, but a lot of work to still do. Some of the next steps that I want to continue as next year's work stream is continuing to really look at those behaviors and what's the function or what's the reason behind behaviors. We want to continue our social emotional development well beyond just our behavior-specific programs, but into all of our service models and connecting with our PBIS teams, my partner over there, Dusty. We definitely are continuing to look at our monitoring systems. We're having less and less exceptions each month, which means more and more students are getting funded and getting on our count, and that's bringing in revenue. Going to continue to look at decreasing those monthly errors, and then, of course, the systems for guidance and monitoring so that individuals in the field of special education don't necessarily need to ask me for answers. I've got live linked guiding documents that will take them right to the laws and that will explain them in layman's terms. This is one of the most excited pieces, is continuing that integrated service across all of our systems of support. So really increasing that data at the table, where is a student successful, what progress are they making, and then what progress are they not making. By doing that data-based instruction and decision-making, we really think we can decrease our exclusion rates even further. Students with disabilities are often suspended or expelled at a higher rate. We did some great work. We saw it dip down, and it's creeping back up. So we definitely want to tackle that one again next year. And those ELA scores looked amazing, but they can certainly get better and continue to grow. So we not only want to keep doing what we're doing, but integrate those services back into the general ed for even more rigor, more robust learning. And that should be my last slide. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I actually do. Thank you. That was an excellent presentation. And just because I spend quite a bit of my own work time in healthcare, and one of the first slides, you had the different components, whether it's occupational therapists or psychologists, nurse practitioner even, what you mentioned. So just out of my own curiosity's sake, are those things that those people, they're contracted and come into the school, or are students taken to those services? I'm trying to better understand all of those components.
Fantastic question and secret mission of mine, so I get to talk about both in a really quick manner. So those are all school-based services. The IEP team has dictated that they need those supports to access their education. Families can still utilize their either state medical or private medically funded services, so we have families that double dose. All of those services are also partnerships with our homeschooled as well as private schooled population because they live within our Shelton community. And we have been working really hard to hire within, to hire those individuals and have them work for us at Shelton School District. We still need one more SLP, one more OT, and one more PT. Those are contracts that I do have to contract out, but the employees come into our district, no virtual services. So as soon as we hire those last 3 people, everybody will work for Shelton Schools.
And that's common for a district our size, small or large actually as well, that we have to sometimes contract for services. Sometimes we were just talking about this, they get grabbed right out of college and then they get taken up by the agencies and then they are contracted out. So that's just, and then a lot of times we might only need a part-time something, so we'll share that individual with other districts for us. But we try to have those staff that were up there, all those specialists, plus sometimes special education teachers, literally, and behavior techs also be our employees, so they're here to help be part of a greater team, and obviously easier easier to figure out how to do more wraparound services for our students.
Yeah, that's what I'm so impressed with that you were saying. You were able to really kind of minimize the disruption to just the educational learning time while integrating all of those services. So I think that's fantastic. And it also sounds like there's a certain amount of leeway to customize educational, I mean, from the example that you even gave there at the end, just hearing you were able to create a learning experience for someone to bring out the best in them. And that's just really wonderful to hear.
Yeah,
I'm
and-
happy that's happening here.
And historically, that's also a contract. We've had to look elsewhere to serve some of our most complex population. But as our team has grown and as our access to this community grows, we're finding that if we can build a program here where their adulthood is going to reside, those programs become so much more powerful, and they're not traveling hours on end to access their services. It is bringing more creativity and more beautiful examples to our teams to then fuel that synergy.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed with all of the community partnerships and the opportunities that they're having. So thank you for highlighting all of that. I really appreciated your presentation.
Any more questions?
I don't have any. I was just, again, going to follow up with the, super impressed with how much the community buy-in you have with this and your ability to get out and get those things taken care of. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I think in the end, it's all about communication, finding the communication, and community. If we can nail those two things, all of our Shelton students will continue to be more successful.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. 7.03, a presentation on safe and welcoming environment, Chelsea Brady and Adrian Minery.
All right. Thank you, Board President Wielander, other esteemed board members, and Superintendent Jesse, and student representatives for having us here tonight. We do have a large team. Everybody's very excited to present on this topic. My name is Adrian Minery. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Pre-K through 6. So tonight we are presenting on safe and welcoming environments, which is one of the priority areas, as we all know, under the strategic plan. And we'll really be talking a lot about the amazing work that our educators and school communities are doing at our middle grades at Olympic Middle School and Oakland Bay Junior High School. You can see some of our students and staff members who we are so proud of. I think we've heard that a lot here tonight from different people about how proud we're feeling about the work that we're doing and the growth that we're seeing as a result. So I think what you can also see here is that that age band. We deliberately just put the labels down there and didn't say which school they are. These are our 5th through 8th graders. And we think about those students as moving on a trajectory through our schools. And how can we build that and continue to improve that for them? So I'll just bring it back to this really quickly before handing it over to Ms. Brady. For the last couple of board presentations, I did present on, with teacher colleagues, on literacy, so the first priority area under a strategic plan, and we talked about the instructional components that help make our students readers, help them grow their reading skills. So we talked about that phonics and word recognition and the language comprehension, and those both working together. But part of what I love to talk about and think about is how with any academic area, what's really underpinning that work is teaching kids those executive functioning skills and making sure that they're engaged. So when we talk about executive functioning skills, that's a really technical education-ese type of term, but we're really thinking is like, what are the social skills? What are the study skills that kids need? How can they sit still when they're in class? How do we teach that when they're little? How do you teach them to focus and be able to stay engaged with their studies? How do you teach them to plan ahead. You might have a longer project. How are you going to plan this out over time? Those executive functioning skills are things that we as responsible educators and communities and parents, that's what we teach our kids. And so in our school system, we're partners in that work, and we teach into those, as well as, I think, we're really working hard on providing motivating and engaging environments for our students where they do feel safe and welcomed, so that then they're able to focus on their learning and increase their reading skills, their writing skills, their skills as mathematicians and scientists, and getting ready for college and career readiness.
Good evening. I'm Chelsea Brady. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for 712. So I'm just excited to talk to you tonight about how we are continuing to build one system, K-12. So when we think about safe and welcoming schools, part of that is creating structures and routines and predictable environments for our students, because we do have kids that come from 3 elementary schools and into 1 middle school at OMS, and then into OBJ, and then into 3 different high schools. So as they're moving through those schools, we're trying to set up predictable structures and routines so that they are set up for success and not experiencing vastly different experiences in each school. And so as we work together on that alignment, we're really thinking about developmentally the different age groups and how to kind of stair-step those expectations and how to set up those environments to meet the needs of where they're at developmentally. So tonight, again, we're focused on OBJ and OMS. I think we can all recognize that that can be a challenging age group. I can't tell you how many times, both as a teacher and as a principal, and I'm sure my colleagues behind me, they say, oh my gosh, I could never work at a middle school or a junior high. Just think back to when you were, ages 11 to 14, you make some interesting choices. And you try on some different behaviors as you're learning how to navigate. And that's kind of an exciting age too, though, because we get to support students through those changes. And through this alignment that we're working on, we're really leaning into how to teach them those skills on how to navigate life. And so you'll hear a little bit about that tonight from the colleagues behind me. And so part of this alignment, again, is setting up circumstances within our schools so that the environments are set for students to be successful, and also that we are teaching them these skills. So as you can see, both OMS and OBJ have been working hard on not only structures and routines and building relationships, but also holding students accountable and teaching them skills as, again, they're trying on some different behaviors. You can see the change. We are working together. We are moving in the right direction, and you can see that in the data here. Our number of exclusions is decreasing. The number of referrals is decreasing. I know that we have had a difficult narrative even at OBJ, and yet it is not the same as it has been in the past. We really are moving in the right direction. I'm excited for you to hear from some of the staff tonight. You can see it in the data, but you can really feel it in the school. And so I'm gonna hand it over to Marianne, the principal, to share a little bit more about that.
Good evening. Like Mrs. Brady said, OBJH is not the same place it was last year, and it will continue to improve with this work with alignment with OMS. We know that our students at OMS are there for 2 years, and they come to us for 2 years. And so myself and my assistant principal, Ms. Gangwar, has spent this year intentionally working with the staff and the admin staff at OMS. We've been going to OMS looking at their structures and routines. How can we apply that over at OBJH with just some small tweaks, because they are coming up to the junior high, so what would be appropriate there? But we're trying to make things similar to make the transition easier. It also gives us a chance to get to know our students that are coming up. So not only have we spent time inside the classrooms, we've also spent time out on the playground, out in the common areas, in the hallways, and we've taken what we've learned from OMS and we have started to apply that work in our building already. And I'm excited for my assistant principal to share that work with you tonight. But like I said, OBJH is not the same place. And junior hires are fun to work with. And one of the things that we have seen in our building is that when we teach our students what is expected of them, intentionally teaching them, showing them, and modeling them, they show up and they can follow directions. And they're showing that every day at OBJH.
Hello, I am Paige Gingwer, the assistant principal at OBJ, and I just want to share with you some exciting things that we did take right from the get from OMS. So we went over there, we observed some of their structures and routines like Ms. Marshall had mentioned. And one of the first things that we really saw that we wanted to do is tighten up some of our lunch procedures, our lunch structure. But with that came the opportunity to get kids outside to the backfield during their lunch movement time. That had not been a practice for a few years, and something that we had gotten feedback on from the staff and from the students as being a real big need and desire for them to be out there. So the following week, after going over to OMS, we started implementing that. We started to talk to students about what those changes were. We brought them into the discussion into advisory with teachers to start talking about what that will look like for them. And then the week after, we were able to get those kids outside with supervision. So we were very excited for that. They've been doing very well. There has not been any major issues with that. And also the feedback from staff and our custodians about the cleanliness of our lunch block time is huge. And it's really exciting to see that progress go directly from OMS and apply it at OBJ and for that success to be a thing.
Don't worry, I got this. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Kraft. I'm the assistant principal at Olympic Middle School, and I'm going to continue the common expectation theme that we've got going on here. Basically, at OMS, we explicitly teach our common area expectations at the start of the school year, and then especially after we come off of long breaks, such as winter and spring break. The teams are provided with teaching slides that have each of these common areas, such as bathrooms and hallways, and as a class, they go through those slides and discuss it during their homeroom time. Then Mrs. Johnson and I work with each team to discuss what this looks like at lunch and recess, and then for positive incentives to support this work, we use Eagle tickets and monthly common area spotlights. I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Barkman.
Good evening, my name is Eric Barkman. I teach 5th grade math at OMS, and you've heard structures and routines over and over, and at the classroom level, at OMS, we have, our students are in teams, so students have a number of teachers, and we were tasked this year with writing common expectations and routines for various things amongst our team so that students transitioning from classroom to classroom knew what to expect without having a different set of rules for each teacher's classroom. So examples, transitioning between classrooms, entering into class and the do now tasks, independent work time, like coming down to the floor to do our mini lessons, managing materials such as our Chromebooks, following the flow of the classroom, make sure everything is taken care of, and how we dismiss at the end of class. Those structures and routines, when they're consistent across classes, let the kids focus on the learning, not on what does this teacher want from me.
Okay. So beyond setting up an environment where students can be successful, as we mentioned earlier, we know that it's a complex age. We also have to teach them the skills on how to actually navigate, how to interact with each other, how to solve a social problem if they're not getting along with a friend. We are doing a lot of work around anti-bullying, and that work happens in our advisory and homeroom classes where they actually will learn lessons. I'm going to have Ms. Adams, the counselor at OBJ, is going to share a little bit about that in a moment. But as we know, we can't just punish our way out of a problem. So if students are doing something that we don't want them to do, while we hold them accountable, that's not going to teach them the skill on how to do it differently in the future. And so at both of our schools, we're really working on teaching students these skills. So Stacy can share that with us.
Good evening. Before I get to advisory, I just wanted to highlight another key contributor to the safe and welcoming schools is that, like OMS, OBJ implemented a no cell phone policy this year, and it's really had a significant impact on student engagement, decrease in cyberbullying incidents, as well as just encouraging stronger social interactions between our students. They're actually talking to one another instead of having their faces in phones. So that has been another way that we have been aligned with OMS. In terms of our advisory, we focus on teaching those important lifelong skills. In that time, we have a daily advisory at OBJH, just as OMS. We have focused a lot on teaching students problem-solving skills and taking responsibility for their actions. So you make a choice, there's consequences, and then how do you set goals and work to improve yourself going forward. We just had a lesson in preparation for the Smarter Balance Assessment, where we wanted students to get ready for test taking. So we taught some test taking strategies, including teaching them deep breathing as a way to deal with stress that is associated with test taking.
I'm back. I'm Beth Chapin. I teach 6th grade English at Olympic Middle School. And the video we're about to watch, I'm not going to put it forward just in case it auto plays, but we teach second step at OMS during our SEL time. We call it SEL time. And that the lesson you're going to watch is part of the lesson sequence about goal setting and starting middle school. Because, again, we're an elementary school, we're an intermediate elementary school that's pretending to be a middle school. So that is the lesson you're gonna see. This is my real students in my actual classroom, and it was the lesson that I was teaching that day was about what happens when we go to middle school, what does it feel like? And so you'll see some of that. Was I supposed to say anything else? Adrian's feeling nervous about the video. It's 20-minute video, but it was chopped down, so it's a little bit jumpy. I promise I don't actually teach in like weird chunks, the way the video says it. Okay, there we go.
You're getting a short snippet. Short snippet.
This unit is all about setting goals, getting ready for middle school, right? The junior high. And so, let's get in here. We're gonna watch some videos and we're gonna talk about what is it like going into middle school. We're gonna talk about challenges that you might face, things that might happen, and what we can do. I want you to write on your piece of paper, and I want you to write what is one thing that makes you nervous about starting at the Bay. Then write that. I'm not nervous. I'm not gonna shout anybody's out specifically, but I see things like, what if no one likes me? What if I can't make any friends? What if there's too much work? What if the workload is much bigger than it is at OMS? Classes. Those are all things that it's okay to be nervous about. We're gonna watch a video and listen to some people talk about starting middle school and all of those things.
Too much or like too little, or would I be like too good in the classroom? Like would I be not as smart as
One thing I was nervous about in middle school was fitting in with others and opening my locket.
When you ever turn to talk to a partner, your table partner, when you're trying to talk to your table partner, what kinds of challenges did the students in the video face? What kinds of fears did they have? And were they the same as yours? How many of you, just a show of thumbs, that they had similar fears to the ones that you had that you wrote down? That the people in this video were like noticing like I'm nervous about these same things. I want you again, we're gonna work with partners again. I want you to think about a time that you felt nervous starting something new, but then felt better after a while. What happened that made you feel better? You're gonna turn and talk to your partner. You are gonna write down 2 or 3 things that you came up with. I was nervous to start with, and then I felt better. I wanna give you an example. My first year teaching 6th grade ever was last year. Ready? Turn and talk.
I felt nervous when I heard.
A couple people share. What did you write down? What are the strategies that you use?
I did get it over with, and then afterwards, not so scary.
There we go. There's a couple other suggestions, right? Giving yourself time. That's that safe place or the taking a deep breath. Knowing your teacher's expectations. What's beautiful is Olympic and the Bay, we're working together. We're trying to work together. We're trying to link the things that we do. We want to make sure that when you leave here, you go into a situation that's pretty similar in terms of expectations, right? We're not going to have our phones out. We're not going to run in the hallways. We're not going to touch each other, right? And so those expectations are going to be similar or the same. Mrs. Johnson is working with Mrs. Marshall to make sure that the principals have the same idea of like what's going on. Ms. G is working with Mr. Kraft to talk about how do you do restorative circles? How do you do the work that you're doing here, right? And so when we think about knowing your teacher's expectations, it's a whole lot easier to walk into a building and go, okay, things are gonna be at least somewhat the same, right? From the place that I left to the place that I'm going now.
That was a great snippet of a lesson. So that's what we have for you tonight. We really wanted to highlight the just amazing work at the middle grades. And so thank you to everyone that came and shared. Is there any questions?
Just real quick, thank you for all that work. The transition to no cell phones at OBJ, just curious how that went this year. I'm sure everybody was excited. How'd that go with the staff and those that had to enforce kind of a new policy change?
Well, I think one of the things that we learned is to get in front of the message early, right? So we started in August educating our families and educating our students, putting that information out there, taking phone calls, answering questions. Our families were super supportive, and I think one of the reasons that it was successful is it was a team effort. Everybody agreed this is what we were gonna do, and we did it. And right now, if you walk into OBJH, it's cell phone free after the first bell. And students, like Miss Adams was saying, they're having conversations, they're talking to one another, they're playing, and they're having fun. And I think our discipline rates are going down because of the no cell phone policy.
I think it's just so great to see you all here collaborating and working so hard to make sure that the students are successful in one of the most difficult spots in the district. And I just really appreciate your effort. I really appreciate everything you put into this presentation. It's just underappreciated, but we appreciate it. So, and it's,
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, everything I've ever seen about, middle school and junior high, it's always looked like Viking warfare. And you guys have definitely gotten on top of that, and you've, I've been in both schools now, and there's not people out roaming around, and you're not hearing about the problems. So, great job. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, item number 8, the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that?
I motion to approve this evening's consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, moving on down to item number 9. 9.01, proposed revised policy 3245, the student telecommunication devices. Dusty Trickle.
Good evening, Board President Wiehlander, other board directors, student representatives, and Superintendent Jesse. My name is Dusty Trickle. I am the Director of Student Wellness. I'm here this evening to discuss the second reading of the revised policy 3245 regarding students and telecommunication devices. Just as a reminder, this is the policy that addresses restrictions of cell phones during the school day. Are there any questions about the policy?
I don't have any questions about the policy. Getting into the procedures, I am kind of curious how you're going to address like smartwatches and some of those things. That's going to be a tough one. People don't own Mickey Mouse anymore.
That is an excellent question. I'm hoping that we can glean some information from some schools that have started to implement it, because I had the the same questions going into this procedure, because it is going to be harder with the watches, and just really monitoring how students are using those, I think will really be what it comes down to, ensuring that it's not. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this taps into very much like the previous presentation. So when we're in a reactive mode and we don't have developed some of the structures, routines, the expectations, and the relationships, we can be chasing ourselves on anything. I don't know who I was joking around with, but I was like, oh yeah, remember when I was in middle school, I was selling all sorts of stuff left and right. That was a problem probably back then, right? I'm sure there's some staff that were like, yeah, that kid Wyatt, he's annoying, like he's selling things. Kids can do anything, right? And so right now is very challenging. Phones provide a lot of stimulation and they can be really entertaining. So they're a little bit more challenging than other things. Irregardless of the item, and I thought Mr. Barkman did a really good job, he detailed all of the things that are required to make it work inside of a classroom to engage the students, and so that we can get the learning in the watches or the cell phone, whether they're high. I mean, things can be the buds. We have so many kids wearing hats and having their hair down or hoodies. Those can always be issues, but if we don't have that relationship and we're engaging the kids, I can tell you, they can outsmart us, and it's kind of running after. It's like AI, same thing. Like AI, we can mandate and say we're going to screen every paper and all that, but it is an issue, and we can help try to get it, but it's not the first and primary step. It is those other steps that we heard in that presentation that will help get us there. So I know a lot of people are like, get on it. What's your solution? But it's actually more complex. These are complex. Human beings are complex. And we need to address that, and that's why this work does take time. And that's why I'm, again, very proud of both OMS and OBJH for making it happen, because that's really what they have been relying on to make the no cell phone policy work for them.
Well, we saw earlier that it seems to be working in the middle school and junior high. I'm perfectly happy to be good with this as it's written. It's something that I've been pushing since I was elected, so I would take a motion.
I motion to approve policy number 3245, students and telecommunication devices.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is enthusiastically passed.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.02, proposed approval of sale of real property located at 102 East University Avenue, Shelton, Washington, 98584.
This is just the action item from the public hearing, so I just need an approval of this to move forward.
Any questions from Mr. Sherman? Then I would take a motion.
I motion to approve the proposed approval of sale of real property located at 102 East University Ave, Shelton, Washington, 98584.
And I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's
Thank you.
unanimous.
And I'm back.
Don't go anywhere. Okay, proposed items to declare surplus, Clinton Sherman.
Yeah, this is not a new process for most school districts. You guys normally do it annually. We are going to do a spring surplus because we have some things ready to go and there's no sense to hold them. And so we have a list in front of you to declare surplus tonight, and we'll bring another list during the summer. What questions do you have for me? And also, again, it's around timing, right? There's no money coming legislatively. We need to figure out how to generate more revenue for ourselves. We have some items of value. Why sit on them for months and do it? So, and I apologize for the late addition on the agenda. That was my fault. I was trying to move real quick on it.
Any questions? I'd take a motion.
I move that we approve the proposed items that are declared for surplus.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 10, legislative update.
All right, it's the best part of the evening, everybody. Just kidding, that was caramels with kids. Last real ledge update for the session here. It started on January 13th and progressed for its intended 105 days. Over 2,200 bills, resolutions, and memorials were introduced, and 424 bills and 3 joint memorials and 1 joint resolution were passed. The final numbers on the big 3 as we tracked them this legislative session, which were transportation, materials, supplies, and operating costs, and special education funding. To meet actual needs, a $1.1 billion for the 2025-27 biennium was requested for special education, but the final number came in at just over $300 million. Special education also saw a multiplier increase to 1.16 and the removal of the artificial enrollment cap, which may help some districts. $90 million was provided for material, supplies, and operating costs. The current estimated statewide shortfall is at $1 billion, and definitely not keeping pace with inflation. This $90 million helps, but is not nearly enough, especially when districts have already been cutting staff and programs and will need to continue doing so just to meet keeping lights on. And there was no transportation funding. However, a fuel tax increase of from 49.4 cents per gallon to 55.4 cents per gallon, which will increase by 2% each year to adjust for inflation. So just calling out, our gas will increase for transportation, but not our MSOC. Districts can try to run levies for enrichment activities and operations that are not covered by the state's basic education funding to try to close gaps created as the cost of basic education needs outpace state allocations. House Bill 2049 increased the local tax authority for school levies, did pass, which will increase gradually over the next 6 years. Beginning in the 2031 calendar year, the per pupil levy limit will be $5,035 for all districts. There were about 35 unique bills that passed the legislature touching education at all levels in the state. Some of these highlighted funding from some of the highlighted funding from these bills for K-12 education I'd like to share are the 2025 supplemental operating budget includes supplemental funding of $17.5 million more for school meals and $15.7 million more for transition to kindergarten. The legislature also included one-time funding of $52 million for 2025, equaling to about $50 per student. That will be allocated to the school districts for the school year. The 2025-27 biennial operating budget included $308.4 million increase for special education, $81.4 million more for the materials, supplies, and operating costs, and increased $137 million for local education authorities. These LEAs support students with disabilities through special education programs and services designed to meet the unique needs of each student. LEAs, local education authorities, must provide a range of services including individualized education programs, IEPs, and related services like therapy, counseling, and transportation. Shelton School District was identified as an eligible school district, seeing an increase of $150 in calendar year 26 and $250 in calendar year 27. The 25-27 capital budget has a long list of smaller allocations, but some that stood out were $429.57 million for the school construction assistance program projects. For the SCAP fund for state bonds is continuing to be funded, $31 million to school district health and safety, and $17.5 million for classroom and indoor air quality projects. I would like to thank the legislatures and the educator advocates who coordinated and provide transparency to try and close the gaps of basic education funding to districts, as many of us will continue to struggle to cover the costs of basic education. I'd also like to thank you all for the privilege of supporting the district's legislative interest and sharing updates with you all.
Thank you. Okay, on to board member comments, and we'll start at the end with Mr. Dale.
Yeah, just a couple of thank yous. Thank you to everybody who came tonight. I know it ended up being a long one. Thank you to everybody who stuck around. I had the privilege of going to Evergreen Elementary was at the first, and what a privilege to go into the classrooms and have children read with you. The one little gal, was working so hard to sound out words, and when she accomplished it, the pride and the excitement was just there. So what a great opportunity. Thank you to the culinary students. I'm sure they're home in bed or doing homework or whatever kids do this late, but way to get in here and come in. And then, yeah, just thank you for community comments once again. Appreciate you getting up there and sharing your thoughts.
Ms. Cronquist. Lauren.
Thank you for being here with us tonight. I was also able to go to Evergreen, and my students spoke 4 languages: Portuguese, Spanish, English, and Mum. And she was in 1st grade. It's just crazy. It's a really cool experience. Thank you for inviting us. And I'd also like to call it, the last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. And I'd like to appreciate the teachers greatly this year. So thank you.
Ms. Davidson.
Yeah, thank you very much for all of the presentations tonight. I really appreciated all of them and just getting a window into what you're doing. I also really appreciate having you all come up and present so that the public can see everything that we're talking about, because these are things that a lot of people have questions about, and getting a better understanding is really important. The highlight for me was also being invited to go to Bordeaux and sit at a table full of kids, and right next to the table that I was with were the 3 kids that wrote the actual letters to me. So when I found out they were there, I went and thanked each one of them and told them that it was because of their letters that I came that day and took time out of work, because it was just such a special experience to do that. But my table of kids too, there were 2 adults that were there. We each got plenty of time to sit with each kid and let them read through their story however they wanted to do it. And it was truly the highlight of my week. And I was telling the superintendent, it wasn't scripted at all, but we were all talking about what is your favorite part, because each one of their stories kind of had the letters of their names and different things about them. And so I was saying, what's your favorite thing to do? And this very shy little girl that was sitting next to me, she was like, it's reading. I love reading. And you're just like, that's amazing. We were talking about animals and favorite colors, and what came blurting out was reading. And there really is this engagement and excitement around reading, and it's wonderful to get in the classroom and actually see that. So I also very much noticed how many community members took time out of their busy days to come in and do that reading too and have that experience, and that's so important. There were so many different people that were able to come in, and I appreciate the school district for inviting the community in to do something like that. The culinary kids tonight, it's truly wonderful for me to see these examples of the pathways that are at the high school and have a presentation on it. I loved that. The students did an excellent job of presenting. It was fun. I realize it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, but I'm also terrible at this. So I'm definitely not going to give up my own career for becoming a decorative rose maker out of caramel, but it was really fun to be able to do that. The other thing, like the button robe ceremony that's coming up this Friday, I just wanted to let other board members know, unfortunately I have a work conflict, so I'm not going to be able to make it to that. It is one of my favorite events of the year. I think it's really special to hear from the families and see them celebrate each kids in the button robes. They're so beautiful. I love that evening, so I apologize for not being able to make it. And I do want to say I really appreciate you and your students coming up today. The Squaxin tribal kids who came up and spoke. That is not easy to do. There was a lot of pride in their words. I really appreciate them coming up, as well as the Skokomish tribal member who came up as well, and hearing their families' names and their request. So I really appreciate their courage and their words in coming up tonight, and I think that's it.
Well, I've got a ton of stuff scribbled out. You know, tonight's meeting, we heard great things. We heard a bunch of kids get up and exercise their voice. We had the kids teaching us how to cook, which frankly, the culinary arts and all that was something I never heard of until I was in college. You know, it's a college program, and these guys are knocking it out of the park in high school. This is going great guns. We're seeing huge gains in our special ed department. You know, there's just so many positive things going on. Perfect world? No. But we're moving in the right direction in every aspect of this. And, you know, I always thank all the teachers, and I say that again. Thank you.
Can I have one more comment?
Of course you may.
Ooh, and my mic is still on, oops. I just don't want to forget, we all were able to read through the Drake scholarships that came in, and then 3 of us were able to sit down and interview those kids last night. And it was such a wonderful example. Amazing kids, all unique, wonderful academic accomplishments, wonderful outside community service, athletics. And they all had great examples, whether it was a teacher that touched their life, somebody that went above and beyond and did something for them, or a classmate, or a family member, or a community opportunity, and then how they wanted to give back. And that, it always is a highlight of being on the school board that we have this opportunity to have that situation where we can interview these students and hear these actual examples. It's just like being able to go in the classroom and hear the reading. And we had a lot of great applicants, and we had 5 great people that we interviewed, and that's always another highlight that I just want to say. The students were great, and hearing their own words and hearing their stories, and especially just how their teachers have really touched their life. It goes into that Teacher Appreciation Week. I mean, what you're all doing really matters, and it impacts them for the rest of their life.
Okay, with that, we do have an executive
I would
session.
like to add just
yeah,
just another reminder that of our ECP. I think you're all really gonna like this one. It's gonna be
and
good.
then don't let me forget, if you listen to the Ledge report, there's money available. You guys need to do your work project thing for a capital budget request, and I will help you get started on that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Otherwise, we do need to get to the executive session. Will be about 25 minutes, and then so we'll be back here at 20:27.